Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 9 of our English 1020 online course. This week, we are going to get into Project 3A, which, if I'm honest, is one of my favorite projects for the semester. We're going to be focusing on a researched argument. And what that means is a couple of things. We're going to continue doing secondary research practices and processes that we started in Project 2, but we're going to apply them differently. And as we go through this video, I think you'll see what I mean. But two main things that you want to keep in mind. The first is that while in Project 2, you worked on your research processes, but you wrote about them as a narrative, as if you were telling the story of your research processes. And that's awesome because that helped us tap into our metacognition around the things that we came in with, the things that we picked up along the way in terms of secondary research practices. And that served a really key purpose. Plus, we were exposing ourselves to an unfamiliar genre, that of the iSearch narrative. Now we are going to be going into a new rhetorical situation. We're going to be writing a publication level researched argument essay. So one of the things we'll look at this week, and I'll show you in a second, is that we have some sample articles from undergraduate research journals. And if your ear buzzed a little bit when I said undergraduate, it's because as an undergraduate, you could absolutely be published in a journal. And what I'm hoping is that by the end of Project 3A, your paper will be something that you are so proud of that you will actually submit it for publication. And if you want information on journals to submit to, you can definitely talk to me about that, and I hope you do. The other thing we're going to be thinking about is this change in rhetorical situation calls for a different writing style. So while we were really working on reflective narrative in Project 2, we're going to be working on more of a third-person scholarly voice for this new rhetorical situation in Project 3A. I'll get to that as we get into our Canvas view, along with looking at the assignments for this week. So let me head over to Canvas and we'll get right to it. Okay. Just a quick reminder, don't forget your peer mentors are holding open office hours for you every week. So make sure that you take advantage of that as we move along in the second part of the semester. Okay, week 9 activities, just a quick overview. You've got chat check-in number 4 coming up this week. And I'll talk you through the exact steps of that in a little bit, but that's going to be a fun one. It's going to help us transition once again from Project 2 into Project 3. Those sample research papers I told you about are all linked here. And I'll just open this up really quick to show you. There's several links here to papers. This is just the first one that I had pulled up earlier. Undergraduate research journals are publishing undergraduates like you. And so as you read through this, one of the things I want you to think about is what are the things that are working in these papers and how can you copy them? Beyond just all of this stuff, this is not necessary. Like, I'm not going to ask you for a cover page like this. I'm not going to ask you for an abstract page like this. I'm not even going to ask you for an abstract. If you'd really like to write one, you may. And indeed, if you are going to submit it for publication, you'll need an abstract to send in. But the thing that I really want you to pay attention to is how are these writers who are undergrads just like you, how are they setting up their paragraphs? How are they transitioning out of their paragraphs? How are they leading the reader through their logic of inquiry? Those are the things I want you to look at when you're looking at these papers. Now, beyond looking at sample papers, you do have your project builder for this week. Project Builder 7 is an annotated bibliography. If you've never done an annotated bibliography before, it is just like a bibliography, but with annotations or notes. So the two aspects of an annotated bibliography include a correct and complete MLA-style works cited entry for each source and a summary of that text, including application for how you would apply it to your own argument or your paper. So, I don't know if I put down as many sources. What I want here is for you to shoot for your first half of your sources here, at least 3, okay? So 3 here, you want your MLA citations. This is what I was going to show you. An MLA citation includes your works cited entry here. And then underneath it, you can see there in this annotation, there are 3 paragraphs. You do not have to write 3 paragraphs, but what you do need to do is summarize the article, book, chapter, whatever it is you're looking at, and reflect on how it will apply to your research, your inquiry that you perhaps began in Project 2 and are continuing into Project 3, or a brand new topic if that's what you're going to explore. So this is your project builder. Oh yeah, I did say 3 sources. Ugh, hallelujah. Thank you, past me, for writing that in there. Sometimes future me is so thankful. All right, and digital journal. This digital journal is going to be working with sources that you find. So aside from the samples that I'm having you guys look at this week, I am not going to ask you to read anything that I assign this week, because what we really need to do is earnestly start finding, evaluating, and synthesizing secondary sources that you will use in your research paper. So I want to give you plenty of space to do that this week. What I do want you to do is use 2 different reading tactics on 2 different texts or sections of 2 sections of one text. So for example, you could highlight and annotate by printing something out and physically marking it up. You could look at a digital copy and compare and contrast. How does it work doing handwritten notes and highlights versus doing digital? You could read a section out loud and then you could do some highlighting in another section. Think about comparing and contrasting different reading strategies that we've looked at. You could go through and start to identify the rhetorical elements of a reading. You could go through and summarize section by section in what's called a reverse outline. You have lots of different options for reading practices, but what you want to do in this digital journal is compare and contrast 2 reading practices and then evaluate them according to strengths or weaknesses. Which method seems most effective for you? That's what we want to get at in this digital journal. Oh, excuse me. Runny nose. So, those are our activities. Let me look. I'll just give you the overview here because there's more than one video this week. Yay! You want to watch your week 9 instructor video, which you're doing right now. So, high five. This mini lesson is going to cover academic conversations, specifically using a rhetorical concept called the parlor metaphor by Kenneth Burke. When you watch the video, hopefully that will become clear, and then a little vid about secondary research practices and integrating them. You're going to read as many sample research papers from that selection that I showed you as you like, just to get a feel for the level of writing, the types of transitions, the organization overall. And you need to find at least 3 new secondary sources. While your Project 3A can use sources you found in your iSearch process, this week you need to find 3 new sources, okay? And then in terms of writing, you have your chat check-in, which I'll show you in a second. You have your DJ, which we just looked at, and your project builder, which we also just looked at. So we've got a bunch of stuff going on to kind of kickstart our work. You want to try to watch everything across the week. If you get to this today, great. Or tomorrow. You know this is a suggested schedule. Look at some sample research papers, annotate them, perhaps do a little bit of a reverse outline where you are summing up what each paragraph does. Do your chat check-in, which is going to be working on turning your iSearch question into an argumentative claim. So this chat check-in is synthesizing work that we did in Project 1 to learn about types of claims and work we did in Project 2 developing a research question. By Friday-ish, you want to be on your second iteration of videos, start working, putting your annotated bibliography together, and then Sunday we'll pull everything together with your DJ9 and your potential sources. Now, really quick, let's look at the chat check-in before we look at the overall Project 3. So, chat check-in number 4. It's only the fourth one we've done. I try to get at least one per project, but we did a couple in the first project. This is where I want you to try turning your iSearch question into an argumentative claim. So your final iSearch question that you settled on. Remember, we went through a couple iterations. You guys revised those questions as you were searching, refined them. Now we need to change from a question to a claim. That claim could be what you surmise the answer to the question is, or it could be a claim about how the question isn't getting at something that it should be getting at. So here's an example. Here's what I mean. Say your iSearch question was, what are the effect of Detroit's Renaissance on local neighborhoods and communities? That's a question. See, we see the question mark. To translate it into a claim, now you need to think about what is it that you want to claim. Are we going to make a claim of value? Are we going to make a claim of policy to say that something should happen? So here's the claim. While there are many positive effects of Detroit's Renaissance on economic growth and entrepreneurship in Midtown and downtown, this growth has still not spread fully to Detroit's neighborhoods, and in some instances, it has even done more harm than good. So, this is our evaluation claim, our claim of value. It's still not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So, you'll post your iSearch question and then your potential claim, and then let's feel free to get in there with comments or questions in the chat with your fellow classmates. Okay, now let's look at Project 3A overall. We're embarking on a study to further the research that you started in Project 2. Or if you change your topic, you can totally go in a new direction. But just know that it's sort of designed to extend Project 2. You really worked on reading into a topic, finding sources, talking about how the research question and topic may have changed or evolved for you. Now we are going to be focusing on scholarly tone and style. You're going to be developing in Project 3 your ethos as a researcher using your academic voice. We did not use an academic voice in Project 2. No, we used a narrative voice, personal pronouns. Now you're going to be using more of a scholarly academic voice. No personal pronouns. We're going to be trying to state things with qualifiers, for example. So we're going to look at these sample papers to examine what that means. What does an academic voice mean? So looking at all of those samples, or at least a couple of them, will help you calibrate what you're shooting for. So feel free to really dig into those samples. And at the end of it, you are going to have composed a paper that is appropriate for submission to a real-life academic forum. So I've had students send their articles to journals for submissions. I've had a couple of students present at the CLAS Undergraduate Research Symposium or the Rushton Conference, for example, which I now think is called the Humanities Conference. Here at Wayne State, I've had undergraduate students then go on to present at regional and national conferences. So this is kind of a cool opportunity. And I might have to sneeze. Excuse me. Oh, goodness. They come in threes. Okay, so here's the assignment. You are going to be making an argument. It should be reasonable, it should be persuasive, and it should be based in scholarly evidence, which you started to investigate in our last project, and you'll continue to investigate in this project. You're going to research through the conversation. So that mini lesson that I have for you guys this week, that is all about this idea. And you need to include at least 4 news sources, at least 2 new scholarly sources, and at least 2 new popular sources. So your annotated bibliography this week asks you to find 3 so that you're over halfway there. So by the end of the day, or couple of weeks, you're going to have your final paper, which includes your works cited, and you're also going to write a reflection letter that has these characteristics to it. So I think this is going to be really fun because what we see is how researching looks different when we write about it differently for different audiences and with a different purpose in view. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to close this out and end our video. Okay, so if you have any questions about anything I've presented in this video, please feel free to email me. I am looking forward to reading through your iSearch papers in the next week or two and getting you feedback. I know that I wanted to give you guys feedback on your earlier drafts, and I just didn't get to it due to my grandmother's funeral. Thank you for your patience, and please know that I am back. A little sneezy, maybe, but fully back and excited to dig into your iSearch papers. Don't forget, your peer mentors are here for you. They are a support and a resource for you, even if you just have questions about, hey, how about finals? What's going on with this class? How do I get a different mindset between Project 2 and Project 3? Any questions like that, including more specific questions about the assignments, your peer mentors are here for you. So take advantage of them as your resource. All right. I hope you guys are staying cozy on this dreary autumn day, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye, everybody.